So Morris. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Ali, Islam. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Ali. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and the uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Islam. Peace and love to all the Moors. We wanted to acknowledge all the Moors who did their 77-day fast from whatever they were fasting from. We made it. We made it to this place where we should be. We should be better than we were 77 days ago in some way, shape, or form. We should be better off. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat in all caps. There's a couple audios that we're going to listen to with regard to the perspective that is out there relative to the Moorish movement, Noble Jew Ali, Moorish Science Temple, Moors generally. But we're going to go through some of the Moorish literature and put that relative to, or put that parallel with the audios that are out there to see where we're supposed to be with this Moorish movement as a whole. So in the Moorish literature book, there was an article in the Chicago Defender called Moorish Head Makes Plans for Conclave. This organization is playing a useful and definite part in advancing the sacred obligations of American citizenship. Indications are that this convention will be one of the most interesting ever held in the city. During the sessions, specific reports of the general work and civic accomplishments of local accomplishments will be made. Reports also of the business enterprises that have been established in connection with these temples, such as 2 grocery and market stores in Detroit, a laundry in Pittsburgh, PA, and moving and express business and grocery in Chicago. These examples of collective effort show that the members of the Moorish Science Temple and their leaders have a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity may travel unhampered and unafraid. It must be kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years so as to be error-proof, said President Ali. However, through accumulating experience, each annual convention ought to witness a more perfect and wider functioning organization representing the organized experience of men and women members throughout the country and possibly in time the world over. All right. So this was Chicago Defender, 1920s. And it's making reference to this organization, the Moorish Science Temple, playing a useful and definite part in advancing the sacred obligations of American citizenship. Now, when we look at American citizenship, that doesn't mean you're an American citizen. American citizenship is the way of life that exists in the Americas. The way of life that exists in the Americas is that every government has their own constitution. Every government has their own flag. They might have a coat of arms. They might have a specific language. They definitely have men and women who are taking a particular place or playing a particular role with regard to themselves as well as this place called America. So when you hear American citizenship, and then people start talking about US citizens and Canadian citizens and Moors not wanting to be US and Canadian citizens and stuff like that, that's when you realize that this is broader than what is actually being presented. Peace more, right? Indications are that this convention will be one of the most interesting ever held in the city. During the sessions, specific reports of the general work and civic accomplishments of local accomplishments will be made. So during the sessions of these, because when they have the convention, they're doing it. It's over a weekly period, right? This is not some one day thing. So during these different sessions of the Moors getting together at the convention, reports are being made from the different bodies of Moors all over the country with what they're doing in their respective territories, right? So the reports would be, how much finance has come in over the past whatever time frame, how many members are in the temple, how many children are in the school, what type of outreach is being done by the different bodies, and then all these bodies will come together, give their piece of whatever. Some might implement things that others are implementing. Some might have never heard certain things, and this is the first time that they're actually taking this position, right? What reports also of the business enterprises that have been established in connection with these temples, such as 2 grocery and market stores in Detroit, a laundry in Pittsburgh, PA, and moving and express business and grocery in Chicago. So on top of the actual the functioning of the temple and what that's doing, there's also members within the temple who are taking the position of, they have some type of skill, they have some type of art, they have some type of hands-on work that they're doing. And everything that they're doing, because they're members of the temple and they have a nationality that they're Moors, it's going to reflect on the Moors as a whole. And this is also in order to inspire Moors, so Moors could see that, having a business as a Moor, if we have 2 grocery stores and market stores as Moors, that's not for Moors only to go to. They're serving the community with that grocery store and market store. It ain't just Moors only that need groceries. Everybody needs groceries, right? Laundry in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right? There's not just Moors that wash clothes. Everyone washes clothes. The idea is, well, if these individuals could be traced back in history and they have a certain impact in history relative to certain things, one of those things being cleanliness, if they have a laundry, that would probably inspire a lot of people to use that laundry because of who it is that has the laundry. And because it's the founders of civilizations that have it, other civilizations that are in America would be supportive of it, right? The same way that when we read the article about the Moorish costume ball, And they're talking about Moors couldn't even get clothes for the Moorish costume ball from the regular places where you would get clothes, because everybody else was going to be at the Moorish costume ball who wasn't part of the Moorish movement, right? All these other individuals who have their own sacred obligation to the citizenship of this great land, this land of milk and honey, right? They want to be tied to the Moors. But luckily, because of who the Moors are, they don't have to go to the place where everybody else is going to get their stuff. We have other alternatives. We know other individuals where other people are doing this from the perspective of dress up. We're going to this one party for the Moors, so we're going to dress up today. And then Moors are doing it from the perspective of this is our culture. So we might go to an Arabian store and buy our stuff. We might go to Punjabis. We might go to Hindustanis. We might go to Moros who have these same customs that we have, because all of these people are Muslims. And the only ones who aren't Muslims are the Catholic Christians, or the quote unquote converted, the conversos, the ones who didn't want to get down with the Moorish paradigm. And then they said Masonry, black slave, whatever, join some European thing, NAACP, whatever else was available for them, right? These examples of collective effort show that the members of the Moor Science Temple and their leaders have a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity may travel unhampered and unafraid. So the work that's being done by the Moors in the 1920s was a collective effort, because everybody knew that it was one temple. The one temple was the head temple that Drew Ali was the head of, and everybody else was subordinate to that. Nobody was playing they're the man and Noble Drew Ali's the man and those guys over there the man and whatever, until they realized that we're going to get him out of circulation so we can have that power, like what he's talking about, and the stuff that's supposed to be read in every meeting that they still don't read in every meeting today, right? Up to this point right now, people still don't read these letters that are supposed to be read every meeting, which is laying down why it is that these things have to be read every meeting, because there's things in there that's going to explain to the individual when they come in the door that there's a way that this runs. You're not going to be doing what you think you should be doing or whatever like that, whatever you feel, right? So again, one of the primary focuses of the Moorish Science Temple and the Moorish movement, the Moorish nation as a whole, is that we're supposed to have a sound economic program. The sound economic program isn't charge for packages and then pocket the finance. Charge for packages and go, buy a Benz. Not that you shouldn't have a Benz or whatever, right? But how did you acquire it? Did you acquire it based on the servant being worthy of hire and the servant actually doing work, right? We're not talking, read a 100-page book, so that means you did work. And then because you read a 100-page book and you got, 99% of the book in application, means that now you're the man and everybody has to be parading around you because you found out some secret Moorish whatever, right? There's a statement here made that our posterity, blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity may travel unhampered and unafraid. Right? So when we as Moors get into the Moorish movement and we're not taking our place amongst the affairs of men, we're not being active, we're being passive. It's due to the posterity being hampered. And because the posterity is being hampered, posterity is afraid to be this. Right? They think being this means you're going to get arrested, which is some of the audios that we're going to be going into. Right? The idea that there's been individuals that have been exercising the Moorish paradigm from the perspective of being defiant against whoever. You have to stand up for and this aggressive, rebellious, renegade approach to this. When first thing is that you're supposed to learn to love instead of hate. So why are you filled with it like that? That you're not going to take the civic approach. You're going to take you have to do something, absolutely off the wall to prove that you're a Moor. This is not about proving anything to anybody but ourselves. Right? Because remember, in the 20s, there was Moorish grocery and market stores. There was laundromats. That was Moorish, right? Not black stuff. There was moving and express business. There was newspaper. There was, fisheries in New Jersey. There was cookie factories in New Jersey. This is what Moors. There's Moorish Manufacturing Company. These are things that Moors had in the 20s because of the members not looking at this as you have to prove something. The members are looking at being industrious so that the nation can have something, so that the posterity can have something, and they can see that it's not about how people have been presenting it. Now remember also back then that there was no alternatives like we have today, right? Back then, if you're saying you're Moor, you're part of Moorish Science Temple. There's not 50 different factions of Moorish groups saying that, well, this is the way this is the way that it has to be. Everybody was down with one program, right? And there was only one way that this was going to go. You're coming into it with whatever mind that you have. You're going to get your mind worked on. You're going to get your spirit worked on. And by the time you get out the other end, you're going to be an industrious, active member of making sure that this movement is not something that is being used from the perspective of gain something, get something, whatever. It's for people to have something. Peace, more Islam. How you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. All right. It must be kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years so as to be error-proof, said President Ali. So we're 100 years later, right? We look at all the different organizations, associations, businesses, or whatever like that have been around for 100 years, right? Where they were at year 1 and where they are right now, 100 years later, right? Some of them are non-existent anymore. Some of them, they have now business office, whatever, in different countries throughout the world. in 100 years. That's where they went with the activity of this. Do you look at the Moorish paradigm? It's limited to just America. It might even be limited to just North America, right? Because the individuals who were part of it, they weren't taking the industrious approach mindset. They were taking the mindset that, you know, the temple is going to do the thing for them, right? It's like we say with you know, there's temples that would say, you know, our temple is that's not the perspective. We're a nation. The temple is a branch of the nation. The temple is not its own entity that's doing its own thing. It's tied to the nation as a whole. The Buddhist temple is not the Buddhist temple and it's just about the temple, right? That's global. It's not just limited to just this building called Buddhist temple. There's Buddhists all over the planet. That there's different temples. And then when you talk to the Buddhists, they'll say that there's different individuals in the Buddhist temple that have businesses, right? Because they're taking this from the perspective that the individual who has it is the one that's going to make it something, right? Not the other way around. The thing is making the individual, which is where the crossover comes in. Why Moors have nothing, because Moors got right back into that Christian mentality, waiting for somebody to do something for them, waiting for something to make it happen, when Moors are supposed to be the ones that made it happen, right? However, through accumulating experience, each annual convention ought to witness a more perfect, a wider functioning organization representing the organized experience of men and women members throughout the country and possibly in time the world over. So if he was talking about this being something that these men and women experience, these men and women's experiences are representing the Moors throughout the country and the world, at this point, there should be, you know, Europe should have more science temples. There shouldn't be Moors over there who are looking over here for their Moorish salvation. They should have places already established over there that's already set up. All you got to do is walk in the building. And then when they walk in the building, they found, oh yeah, well, you know, Brother Bay, he has a bakery down the street. Sister, whatever, she is a seamstress. Brother and sister, whatever, they got the restaurant around the corner. Brother and whoever, they just went to Africa to meet with some delegations of whatever who they're visiting next week. Right? This is what it's supposed to be. The members taking it on themselves to realize that everything that we're doing is for the nation. Right? We're going to get what we're supposed to get from it, as far as, you know, the exposure and the finance and the things that are naturally we're supposed to get. But the point of it is that it's Moors doing it. So, for example, with what we do here, with because of the inability, whether financial or otherwise, for Moors to start their businesses so people can see Moors doing things, we have the events that we do, right? Solstice walks, equinox walks, Juali Day, barbecue. All these things are for people to see Moors. All these things are for people to see that we are a community of people. Just like Something happened in Sri Lanka, and then all the Sri Lankans here say they're gonna do whatever, and then all of them go, and everybody says, "Oh wow, the Sri Lankans or whatever." It's the exact same thing. Why we do certain things. Yes, it's for us as far as Moors, and it's our culture, but it's really for others to see that we're not what has been the narrative that's been put out as to what the Moors are about. And every time somebody brings up Moors, they're talking about somebody claiming a house, somebody, not having a license, somebody not wanting to pay taxes, somebody not wanting to whatever like that, and this headbutting thing with the occupying forces is the standard when people talk about the Moors. Hey, what are the Moors? What are the Moors? Right? It's not, oh yeah, well, I went to this Moorish bakery and they had the greatest croissants or whatever like that. I went to this Moorish mechanic and he did my car so good that I referenced 20 people to him. That's not where it goes. So, we want to instill in Moors for them to take the initiative. Once you know that you're not Negro, black, colored, you have an obligation, a sacred obligation, to making sure that the experience that people have with Moors is not based in some shallow idea of what this is. Now there's with some of the with some of the different things that's involved with this. Like, for example, somebody asked a question on the process of proclaiming their nationality when Noble Ali was present, right? With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. So once you walk in the door in the temple, you're proclaiming that you're a Moorish American. You go to the secretary writes your name on the card, you get your card, and you proclaim it. Now, what are you going to do with that? Is what it's really about. Not what did we proclaim. It's about, well, after you proclaim, what business did you start? What other Moor did you connect with that had a business that you put your energy toward them and started building that up? What did you bring in with you as proclaiming Moor? Because it's not like we have nothing when we come into here. Pre this, right? In the Negro, black, colored mindset, we have something. Coming here and proclaiming who we are is now about protecting that thing that we had, because prior to that, we didn't really own it because we were property. So to say that we're Moorish national would mean that we would have to have certain things in place already, which is what the whole convention and all that stuff is about, so that these new individuals coming in could see, oh, this is what Moorish thing. Oh, I thought this was some Masonic thing. I thought this was some, anti-sovereign citizen thing. I didn't know that this was about Moors having their own businesses. I didn't know this was about Moors taking their place amongst the affairs of other nationals in the land and getting whatever it is. So, for example, one year with Drew Ali Day and us wanting to get our wares and stuff like that, the clothes for looking Moorish. It was a Moor who went to a Hindustani spot and told them, yo, we have this thing coming up and we're going to be sending all the Moors here in order to get whatever it is that they're going to get. And when Moors went there, they got treated with utmost respect, honor, prestige, dignity. You know what I mean? They had the tea out, the cookies, giving children box juices and all that. Just because another Moor said, hey, I have some brothers and sisters that's going to be coming to your establishment, right? Accepted nationality card, no taxes and all that stuff, no questions, no issues, right? No, well, we can't, well, what is this about? And not, there was none of that, because some individual that was a Moor took their place. They didn't go in there on some, trying to prove something to them. They were just being their Moor self. And them being their Moor self let these individuals know that, oh, this individual is not like the average people who looks like them. What are you? What are you part of? Well, yeah, part of Moorish Science Temple, Noble Juali, da da da. Come to find out that the Hindustani knew about Noble Juali, knew about the Moors, knew about the Moors where he was from, right? Knew about it, wasn't debating the brother about his position that he took. Knew that the Moors are descendants of Moroccans and they weren't African slaves and all that. Knew that there was no slave trade. Knew that in our country we don't even know what that is. We find that out when we come over here, right? So the individuals who have this thing of when they proclaim their nationality, that means button heads with whoever about this thing because they gotta accept me as whatever. That's due to the individual not really knowing what this is, because it's not something that you have to fight. This is something that you're supposed to be happy about. When you say you proclaim your nationality, you're a Moor. This is something that you're supposed to be joyous about. This is something that the frequency of you knowing that you're a Moor is supposed to be great for anybody who engages you. It's not supposed to be fighting, debating, or whatever. It's supposed to be smooth when you're relating to other people what this is, what it's about, and they're gonna guarantee, just like when we listen to these audios, guarantee they're gonna be looking at it from the perspective of what they've seen out there that Moors are doing, and not separating it to say, okay, those are a particular group of Moors. They're not living by the standard of the sacred obligation to American citizenship. They're playing, they can do whatever they want because this is their land. That's not what this is about. You can't do whatever you want because this is your land. You're supposed to be adhering at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's a standard with proclaiming your nationality as a Moor. So as soon as we exercise as Moors, and then we're receiving hate or backlash, it's ourselves we have to check, not the backlashing people. How is it that they related that aspect of it to everybody? How is it that they're painting everybody with this brush and not making a distinction? But then, when you bring up Noble Juali, they'll make a distinction. Oh, well, back then, whatever, as if there isn't the same thing happening right now that was happening back then when Juali was around, right? Any questions or comments? So this the first audio is from NPR, and it's talking about Moorish Science spin-off group bucks federal and state laws, and it's interview, probably like 3 minutes or something. It's an interview with a author, lecturer, professor by the name of Spencer Du, who wrote a book called Aliites, and it's about Noble Drew Ali, Moorish movement, and just what is this? Who are these individuals who say that Noble Drew Ali is the prophet and whatever like that? All right, so we're just taking some of that, and if any questions or comments arise, you could just put those out. The standard that has been set is that this is what Moors do. They defy U.S. laws, they claim houses, they don't want a license, they don't want. This is the normal behavior. This is the normal response from people when Moors come up, right? Now, there's no Moors claiming mansions. That's not a reality, because that's somebody's property. However they got it doesn't matter, but it's someone's property that they got a sign on the front. The door is locked. So for you to kick the door in and say this is yours, that's not what this is, right? You make a contract with somebody, pay them $500 for the car that you got every month. You find out you're a Moor, so you don't want to pay anymore. That's not what this is about. Go to some store, put down the card so you don't have to pay taxes to them. That's not what this is about. This is about individuals taking their place amongst the affairs of everybody else and setting and living by a certain standard that these people aren't going to look at you messed up, because the standard's already set. It's been done since the 1920s, right? This new idea of what this is about, and majority of these people who are doing claim houses and the taxing and status correction paperwork and whatever like that, majority of those people, they don't bring up Noble Drew Ali. They don't bring up Morris Science Temple. They don't bring up the idea that the only reason they can do whatever they're doing is because of the work Moors have been doing before them, right? The idea of defying American laws. There's no American laws. America's a continent. It doesn't have laws. There's no American laws that Moors are against. But they're going to take that idea of US and Canada laws and say that it's American, to make people think that Moors are breaking the law, when there's no such thing as continent laws like that in the way that they're presenting it, right? So to say that, well, this individual is, breaking the law because they're not supposed to be doing that and whatever is an illusion. And that's only based on that one individual's activity. You can't paint everybody with his brush. It's not right. It's not fair, and it's the art of confusion that they're doing, because they already know the impact that this could have if everybody said that they're Moors tomorrow. They already know where this thing could go. If they took that position of saying, we're Moors, we're not Negro, black, colored, and deal with things from based on the principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice is the standard that we're following. Everything that we're doing is based in love first. And we're taking our place as active members in society because we have businesses, because we have organizations, we have associations, we have things that are founded by individuals who have nationalities, just like all the other individuals out here who have nationalities. And they're doing that in order to push their nation. They're not doing that to push their bakery or push their food store or whatever, right? They're doing that to show that there's unity with themselves. Like the Korean or Japanese chicken people or whatever, have people lining up all around the building to get chicken from them, right? That it's not just people of that nation that are lining up. Everybody's lining up to get from them, because they realize that the individuals who have the business realize that our activity of having this food store is going to make our nation look like, you know what I mean? And they always make reference to it. Oh yeah, this, and then they say the national name of the people, and then they say what it is that it is, right? There's the national name of the people, and then they say what it is that they're doing, what their business is, what their trade is, what, you know what I mean? Everybody knows that, you know, if it's some technological thing, you're going to Asians. That's the standard they set as their nation, that we're going to be at the forefront of technological advancement. And nobody's going to debate them about it, because they're going to have everybody in their nation to prove that, yeah, we're the ones who, you know, did this, did that, or whatever, right? Any questions, comments?
Professor Q, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
And you have spent a lot of time studying this group. It was founded in
Americans or the Irish Americans. There's an attempt to trace out a sacred history whereby these folks come over to America from Morocco, from North Africa, and before that they're related to the ancient Canaanites and Moabites of the Bible.
And this would have preceded the Europeans in North America.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So this history of these people that, you know, are of Moorish descent precedes Europeans being in America. Yes, there's no, okay, so if that's the case, that means that there's diversity of citizenship in America relative to these people and Europeans. Because if they've been here before Europeans, and then Europeans are telling them, well, the law says that you can't, you know, do this and you can't do that and you got whatever, that's occupation. That's not de jure, that's de facto. But they're not going to address that part of it, because to address that part of it would mean that all these individuals, including house claiming people, aren't wrong in what they're doing. The error is the people who are claiming that they're doing something wrong. right? Now, again, when somebody asked in the chat about what are the sacred obligations, the idea is that our people, well, actually, let's just go to what Drew Ali said. So this is Moorish leaders' historical message to America. In the promotion of plans for the betterment of mankind, there has ever been some kind of opposition. And strange as it may seem, such opposition has come from sources where there were no ideas or the lack of courage to force attention to ideas, whether in church, state, or the social community. Any attempt to do anything out of the usual way seldom fails to receive criticism, not because the course cannot be pursued legally or that it is unreasonable, but because it has been considered in terms as new. So they're looking at what Moors are doing as, oh, we never heard about this before, so this is something new. No, it's not. This stuff been around for 100 years. And if you check Moors, it's going to say it's been around for thousands of years. This is not some new thing. This is a thing that's been going on. Our people haven't been up to date with what's been going on because we've been classified as everything that we're not. So while all these things are going on with other people, we're over here in this little corner thinking that what we have in this little corner is what this is about. Or what, little people, what little slivers of this people take and blow it up as a tree. And people are thinking that this is what it's about. When it's not about that. It's not about making erroneous claims. It's about making factual claims. It's about making claims that you can prove without having to sit there for 5 hours going through 500 books. This is something that you should be, that the frequency and the energy of the individual is supposed to prove it first, right? And that's coming from the individual being involved, being part of it, being a student of it, being open to sharing what their experience is, because everybody's experience is part of the obligations that we have. But not everybody's experience applies to everybody. So the house claiming people, all of them got kidnapped. They any of them who did that and got through with it. So that's not an obligatory thing for Moors to say that we're Moors and then we're going to go claim these properties over here. That's not normal behavior. That is something new to this. Because in Drew Ali's time, all these businesses that these Moors had, they weren't claiming no properties. They were going and acquiring them like everybody else was doing it. Not because this is our own land means that we just have to get stuff handed to us or given to us or whatever, right? One of the lectures with Taj Razalim, Brother Messiah, that was in Delaware, Carolina, somewhere. Taj was making the reference point of being in the temple, going to the mayor's office, sitting down with the mayor, and the mayor saying, here's the list of all the properties, pick which properties you want. You're not going out there claiming stuff and all that. Them giving you the list and saying, oh, you're more, here's the list. Pick whatever you want. They're only shells, but you could do something with them. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, no problem. We'll draft the paperwork up, and then that's yours. That's your property now. Because the property itself was abandoned. The property itself was in no jurisdiction like that. And because it was abandoned, it's open for anybody who makes a request for it. Right? When Moors were in the temple and they were going out trying to claim properties and stuff like that, and we were telling them, it's not going to work like that. Because first of all, you're making the claim on something that is cemented in a corporate jurisdiction, right? Just like you're not gonna start your own garbage company and go around picking up people's garbage. Well, we're Moors, so we should be the garbage picker up people. Well, not really. You're not gonna go around say, well, yeah, we're the Moorish fire department, so call us when there's a fire. Call us when there's whatever, because that's not how this works. It doesn't work like that, right? The course cannot be pursued legally or be unreasonable, but because it has been considered in terms of new. So all these individuals who are coming into this information, and then they're learning from people who are telling them about every way to get out of something, but not teaching them, what's love, what's truth, what's peace, what's freedom, what's justice. Why do we have a holy Quran? Why are we uplifting fallen humanity? Why not uplifting Moors? Why not uplifting Black people? Why is it humanity that we're supposed to uplift? Right? All these things that are supposed to be learned so that when you go out and take your place amongst the affairs of men, you're not looked at like you're doing something crazy. You're not looked at like you're doing something new. You're going ahead with the program, which again is why when you look at the or when we're listening to the audio, they're making reference to certain historical, factual reference points to prove that what Moors are doing isn't a negative thing. What this is about is not, the negative things that people receive when they're learning about this, and they find out about Moors claiming houses and they got kidnapped. They're doing all this stuff, but then 5 years later, these people are the people who everybody should be following, because now they got orange fez, and now they are sitting with certain people on the stage who, oh my gosh, they're sitting with that guy, so that means he must be down with everything that they said. So that's not what's happening. There's opportunists. There's individuals who are coming into this to cause confusion. There's individuals who are coming into this to tell you, yeah, we're Moors, but then they're showing you a different flag. Yeah, we're Moors, but they're showing you a different seal, and a different coat of arms. And they're not even bringing up the temple. Matter of fact, they're going to tell you, forget about the temple, come join our thing. When this is the foundation of all this other stuff that people have, including all the businesses that people are starting up that, they're getting into issues with the colonial people, because Drew Ali said, put everything in the name of the temple and put everything in my name. You put it in your name. Who are you? You ain't nobody. You have no legitimacy. You just found out that you're Moor yesterday. Right? Any comments, questions? The Moorish Science Temple has received some opposition and criticism. In the main, the opposition has come from certain Christian ministers. They have expressed themselves to be opposed to our propagation of the Mohammedan religion, possibly because the promotion of the Mohammedan faith among our people in the United States is considered by them in terms of something new. Right? So back going again to this idea that, you know, Masons wear feathers. Why are you wearing feathers? Are you a Mason? Well, no. This is not some new stuff that we're doing. Why you wear turbans? I thought that's, you know, Punjabi stuff. No. That's but you're black. No. This is not. Us being black is new. Us being Moors is ancient. They're looking at it absolutely wrong. And they're looking at it absolutely wrong because the people who have been proclaiming their nationality and whatever like that, majority are sincere in their belief and what they think this is about. But the influence is with the few who are here to cause confusion. The influence isn't with the ones who have been doing this right for the past 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. They're not even considered. The ones who are getting kidnapped, the ones who have issues with these people, the ones who are in the news, and the ones who are selected as being the standard for what it is to be a Moor is where people are looking, which that's wrong. Because what those people are doing is something new, right? Whatever the reasons may be for their opposition, the legal right to oppose citizens, individuals, and organizations for their religious belief does not exist in the United States. So the right to us having a religion is part of what this is about. Right? The fact that we're not Christian and we can propagate the faith of Islam is where this is at. Now, when we look at Holy Book and people look at Moors and then they start showing Moors, you know, Quran from the mosque and all that, is part of the violating our religious right, because we're not those people. We got our own holy book. We have our own religious instructions that are particular to us being Moors. The broad brush is the Mohammedan and, you know, Muhammad and all that stuff. That's the broad brush. We're not supposed to be broad brush because we have a right to our own religion. And then Drew Ali told us our religion is Islamism, not Islam. So being our religion is Islamism, and that's not what these people have, then to deny us that, to say, oh, you take your fez off, you can't wear that in here or whatever like that, is denying us certain things that is supposed to be accepted and acknowledged, not because of what we say, but because of this land that we're in. And in this land right here, people have a right to their religion. Even the Pastafarian who wore the colander on his head for his driver's license, and it wasn't an issue. There was no, you take that off. He said he's Pastafarian, and they wear strainers on their head as their religious headwear. Then you got a right to do that. You ain't violating anybody else's rights or whatever. Do what you're doing. And he has the license with the strainer on the head to prove that his religion is what it is. Whether it's BS, whether you believe in it, whether you think it's fake, whether you whatever, you don't have say as to people's religious right. But you realize with certain people, they would go over and beyond the call of duty to make sure that they can't exercise their religious whatever. And if they're not going to let you exercise the religious whatever, they're definitely not going to let you exercise the national part of it. Peace, more Islam. Right? Right. Islam, more. Good to see you. Right. The reason why, for people in the chat, the reason why you're invisible is because you're supposed to ask your questions in all caps, because nobody's not scrolling through all these comments to find your little stupid stuff that you want to bring up if it's not in all caps. So when you put it in all caps, we'll address you. Until you do that, you're going to be invisible. It's real simple instructions, right? What part of the literature talks about submitting to gynocracy? Right? Now, everybody knows that the science of woman is what rules the world, because everything that's on the planet that's living comes from a womb. Everything is living comes from a womb, right? Even inanimate stuff comes from a womb, which is the mind. So the science of the feminine is something that's in the Moorish literature. It's not something that people are making up or whatever, right? Again, when we go to Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish leaders' historical message, have lofty conceptions of your duties to your country and fellow with whom you deal. This includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in the other fellow's place. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Why? Because we didn't have it. We thought the man stuff was on the top and the woman stuff was on the bottom. Then we didn't appreciate the woman, which is why it's in the literature that we have to have a deeper appreciation for womanhood, which is why the 101 questionnaire has humanity written on the woman, because we have to have that deeper appreciation. And it's Noble Drew Ali who's carrying her humanity, which is woman, which is gynecology, the science of her, knowing the science of her, knowing that the 5-point star is a woman. Venus is feminine. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. 5-point star is feminine. Why is that to be honored and respected and appreciated if it's not for the fact that that's where the foundation is? Even to the point of the flag, even to the point of the fez is a womb. Right? So if the womb is playing such an important part in us getting our stuff right, the first principle, love, going back to Venus again, which is feminine, and truth, which is feminine, and peace and freedom, which is feminine, and justice, which is ma'at, which is feminine. All these things are feminine principles.
Why don't they call the earth Father Earth?
Why? Right?
Instead of Mother Earth, like it is.
Right.
Mother Earth. Because everything comes from the earth.
Right.
So all of us from the mother.
Everything is from mother.
Mother Earth, inheritance. It's always mother. It's always mother. It has to be mother.
Can't be anything else.
No.
But once it get, and again, going back to this thing of, perceiving things as new, right? Because our people have been patriarchal in their mindset, in their activity, in their living, in how they run the household, in how they run the school, and how they run the religious institution. Everything's been based on man ruling, masculine ruling. Women go over there, you sit in the corner. You don't talk unless you're spoken to. And if you do talk, you better be talking about some honoring the man stuff and all that. When the whole point is for the whole point is for the man to realize his role, man to realize his position, that he's the enforcer. He's not the creator. Man is not the maker and the way of the universe and all that stuff. It's not the man. The woman is that. And she has to recognize that she's that. But she's not going to recognize that she's that if the men are talking about all this patriarchal stuff. Right? Like, when you look up gynecology, the medical practice dealing with the health of the female reproductive system. If the female reproductive system is not working properly, are you going to make it here? Or do you stand a chance if the woman's female reproductive system is not working? So it's ultimately important that she knows herself and that she's working properly, so that the beings that are coming here would be coming here properly. And the best way for her to make sure that these beings are coming here properly is to know the truth about who she is. Know the truth about her position. And that every single being, whether male or female, has to come through her to get here. Ain't no other way that they're getting here. And the only way they're getting here is through the female reproductive system, which is the whole point of the Kirikou movie. To show you that once the female reproductive system's working right, these beings that are being brought to the planet are going to be 2 years old and they already have their own business. Because they were taught properly from the womb. They were given all the necessary instructions. This is why Noble Drew Ali told these Moors, even in the literature, before you even get anywhere in the literature, 3rd page of the Quran. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons, you can set your house in order, and your children would learn to love instead of hate. So the mothers and the fathers have the obligation to make sure that the children get these lessons. The mothers and the fathers. Then the fathers doing their own thing and the mothers doing their own thing. Both of them need to take responsibility of the heirs and make sure that the heirs learn love instead of hate. Because we've been hating instead of loving, which is why we don't have anything. Which is why our conditions are how they are. Because we've been doing everything from the other way. We've been putting the cart before the horse all the time. And Drew Ali came to put things in order. And one of the primary points of this Moorish movement is to have a greater respect for womanhood. And recognize that when you're uplifting fallen humanity, you're actually uplifting women. Not uplifting all the boys and the girls and the children. That's not what this is about. It's uplifting her because everything has to come through her. So once she's right, everything's going to be right automatically. It's not even going to be a question, is stuff going to be right if she's right?
Isn't it like father? It's it's not really the male, it's the fraternity or we isn't it? That I think word father, I think it means like the process of the mom bringing us here.
Yeah.
Not just a male figure.
Mm-hmm.
Just the maternity process. It's also considered as father way back.
Yeah. Cause right. Because when you
process of the mother making the baby.
Yeah.
Maternity. Father.
Right.
Maternity.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know the right words to call it.
But the idea,
yes.
The concept is that fathers come from mothers.
Yeah.
Fathers aren't by themselves. Fathers don't make themselves.
No.
So father ain't nobody.
No.
Father doesn't have the power unless he gets it from mom. Everybody knows. They go to their dad. Hey, dad, go ask your mother. Unless there's no mom in the house, dad's gonna say, go ask your mom. Because he's not getting in trouble by her by telling you to go do some BS or whatever like that, and then he has to deal with it. Why? Why set himself up knowing that she's gonna say no? Sure, go right ahead or whatever like that. And now he has to deal with angry black women and all that stuff. Right? That could have been prevented if you just would have let her be the head. Right? But men always forget. Men always forget that they're always going to be boys. Men always forget that they are always going to be boys. No matter how old they are, they're always going to be son. But a daughter is a mother, no matter how young she is. Son is always going to be son. Mother is always going to be mother, even if she's a daughter. Sons aren't fathers. Sons are sons. Fathers are a product of a mother. Sons are a product of a mother. A mother and a daughter is a mother. Right? When you look at nature is based in feminine ruling. Every man in nature's job is to defend the woman. That's their job. The duty, protect mother. That's what they're supposed to do. Ain't nothing else for you to do. And if you're not protecting mother, then you ain't no man. You're a punk ass. If you're not holding mother to the highest position, then you're probably a patriarch. And if you're a patriarch, that means that you're Christian, you're Roman, and you obviously are going to be the downfall. Because woman has to be put back in her place. That's why, again, Drew Ali said, have a greater respect for womanhood. Because we have the respect for fatherhood already. We already know what that is. Right? And we've been trained and conditioned to think that that's where it's at. Well, because no dad in the household, and that means that the child isn't gonna grow up to please. Every woman has men in her life. Every woman has men in her life. That this brother that doesn't have a father, he's gonna find stepdads and uncles and whatever else to be the man. Guy on the block, whatever, favorite basketball player, whatever. There's always gonna be a man. The point is, she has to be given back her position of recognizing her cosmic power. recognizing that even astrologically, she rules. Masculine doesn't rule. Masculine only rules in patriarchy. And patriarchy is not a form of existence that anybody is going to exist in. Patriarchy is why there's homosexuality. Patriarchy is why there's transvestites and all that stuff. That's because of patriarchy. Because they don't want to give mother the honors, so they're going to give some guy pretending to be a woman honors. How's that even sensible? And then when people start talking up about, well, yeah, we need to honor women, and then, you know, they're making it seem like it's a imbalance to have women ruling, when in every aspect of nature, feminine is what rules and masculine follows feminine. Every man's car is a woman. No man's car is, even his monster truck is a woman. Even his tractor trailer, oh baby, and oil you down baby and all that stuff. Tractor, that's masculine stuff. Why is he calling that woman? Right? That's just what it is. If it's not something that's accepted, then we're gonna have issues. We're gonna have issues. And the issues are coming from people who have a patriarchal mindset, and they're stuck there. They're stuck in their mind. They can't accept the fact that at one time, women created women. There were no sons. At one time, there was no sons. Women created women. A woman creating a son is an anomaly. It's not something that's supposed to happen. And then son gets created, and then son has breasts that don't work. You got nipples for nothing. What do you have nipples for? What do you have nipples for? What do men have nipples for? For what? To do what? What's the purpose of these on a man? To do what? Men should have just been born without them, because they serve no purpose whatsoever in a man. Zero purpose. Zero purpose. Nipples for nothing. Well, you know, the man, no. Every man is a woman, actually. Every man's a woman, actually. A degenerate woman. A woman who didn't develop, a retardation of woman is what a man is. That's just what it is. Nothing personal against women. That's just what it is. And what made the fall more is that she fell in love with her creation instead of disciplining. Because you don't need no man to make anything. This is a natural occurrence. What she have all these ovaries for? What do all of them have that for? And then eggs and all that stuff. Why do they have that for? That's why when you look at in 20s, early 1900s, 1800s, or whatever like that, and a slave, and they talk about 12 children, 15 children, 20 children, and all this. What do they have all that for? Because this guy's sperm? It's not because this guy's sperm why they have 20 children. It's because of all the eggs. And then they emulate that in all the religious institutions. That they got the seats on the side and the seats on the side, and then you got the birth canal right there, that everybody walks down the birth canal when they're going to get married, when they're going to go do their communion, when they're going to do whatever. Everything happens down this birth canal, called the aisle of the religious institution. And then you're going to go to the mosque, and then they're going to have a breast with a nipple on the top and say minaret. It's not a minaret, it's a breast. Because everything revolves around her. And if it's not digested and accepted, then patriarch is going to rule. And when patriarch rules, then the stuff's over, which is why we're going through everything that we're going through. Right? Any questions, comments?
As a woman, this the matriarchy and what it's about, it's foreign in a sense because we've been so conditioned and deconditioned under this patriarchy that it really takes a lot of mental effort to really grasp the concept and then try to find examples that will illustrate matriarchy, even though it's right before me, but it takes a bit of adjusting.
Yeah,
You know,
because of the patriarchy.
because of the patriarchy.
Because you've been conditioned to
Dumbed
think
down by
that, yeah, you've been dumbed down to think that you're not powerful. You got a womb, right? Before the sex of the child is determined, all children are women.
Mhm.
That's just what it is,
You wait certain weeks before you can determine.
right? You're not knowing what it is
Not yet.
in the early stages. That's nature. That's not your opinion.
Mhm.
That's just what it is. It's nothing to you know what I mean. And again, the whole thing with the patriarchy is that they want. The whole thing is that they want to be mad at it when there's no need to be mad at it. That's just what it is. Accept the reality. The reality is that majority of the people who are pushing patriarchy, they probably don't respect their mom. They probably don't respect any woman in their family. Their wife or their mate or whatever is probably, they're sad and all that stuff because you're not honoring it. And to keep this thing alive, knowing that it comes from Rome, it's a fact that patriarchy comes from Rome. Ancient African, Asian, American cultures were matriarchal. They weren't patriarchal societies. There is absolutely no patriarchy in our ancient cultures. Man knew his role. You have the sword, the shield. When it's time for war, you're going to go fight. I don't care how old you are. Mother staying home. All the gold, the silver, the bronze, the whatever like that is not with the man in some chest. That's with the woman. All right. And again, when we go to looking up things, right? Again, people in the chat, gynarchy, rule by woman or a woman, right? Rule by woman or a woman. The Gynarchy, gynarchy, but rule by women, women ruling, right?
That's a word.
Yeah, Gynarchy.
Gyn.
Yeah, Archy. Rule by woman.
That's what it means.
Yeah. So when they say, um, join the Moorish Science Temple and take your place amongst the affairs of men. When you go ask all these men up around here who are taking care of whatever affairs that they're taking care of, guarantee you, if they're not modern European, they're matriarchal. Their wife is not working, not because she can't work, but he's going to take home the check to her. And she's going to pay all the bills. And she's going to do all the saving. And all he's going out there is go out to work and bring the check home. That's it. He's not even spending money unless she gives it to him. And all the cultures who are like that, look where they are in the world. Bet you they have something. I bet you they're not some dumb Negro, whatever, trying to figure out their stuff, marching up and down the place. Bet you. I bet you they have something going for them and their society. Right? Right, again. In connection with our religious aims and beliefs, we must promote economic security. The preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. So we should be about economic security. We should be about making sure that there's some type of activity happening that is relative to us having economic power. And when you check, this whole thing with economy and money and finance and all that stuff, real money is gold and silver, right? Doesn't that come from Earth, which is mother? So economics is matriarchal. That's not some patriarch thing. If the actual elements themselves come from Earth, which is a mother, and that's what people use in society to barter, trade, or whatever like that, whether it's shells, whether it's fruits, vegetables, whatever it is that they're using as quote unquote the money, guarantee you it comes from Earth. And if Earth is a mother, then this idea of economic security is part of the same uplifting fallen humanity, is part of the same recognizing that the power lies with the matriarch. Once you give honor and energy to the matriarch, you're going to get it back 55 billion fold. You give power to the patriarch, your stuff's done tomorrow. Give honor to the matriarch, the posterity can, not be hammered and not be violated and not be whatever. You do the patriarchy, these people are going to murder your children in the street. And you're just going to have to accept it because that's what you signed up for. Because you didn't honor the ways of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, which majority of them were matriarchal. Right? No other one thing is more needed among us at this time than greater economic power. No one thing is more needed among us at this time than recognizing mother. You want to have economic power? Recognize who mother is. Recognize what the foundation of all this is if you really want to have economic power. Better positions for our men and women, more business employment for our boys and girls, and bigger incomes will follow our economic security. We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people cannot develop the highest in them, nor can they attain to a genuine enjoyment of the spiritualities of life. Now we go again, that Juali said, know thyself. And two selves, higher self and lower self. Higher self is the mother of virtues, harmonies of life. Everything that's good and beautiful and all that stuff is the mother, which is the higher self. So obviously the lower self must be masculine if the higher self is feminine. So if we're striving for something, why would we strive for the lower self if the higher self is going to bring us the spiritualities of life, which the spiritualities of life are only going to come, and the genuine enjoyment of that is only going to come when we have economic power. And all these things that create power economically comes from Mother Earth. Everything is dealing with honoring Mother, recognizing the feminine principle, recognizing that we've been bombarded with patriarchy, and it has thrown us off course of where we're supposed to be. Absolutely off course. And again, when we go and check all these different other individuals, all these different nations, all these different cultures, they're going to tell you that their customs are based in matriarchy. And when you look at them, they're prosperous. Name them. They're prosperous. Why are they prosperous? Because they have honors for their foremothers and forefathers. And their foremothers and forefathers were based in matriarchal culture, where the man was the defender. That's all you did as a man. Everything else was woman. Going on the field planting stuff, woman was doing that because that's by the moon, planting. Why are you a man out there planting when planting is by the moon? Knowing when to plant, knowing when to harvest, all that stuff is based on the moon. So what's man doing out there? You got some power? Right? Our men, women, and children should be taught to believe in the capacity of our group to succeed in business, in spite of the trials and the failures of some of them. Trials and failures in business are by no means confined to any particular group of people. Some business ventures of all people fail. So there's no need not to try, because everybody fails in business. It's not some limited stuff, only black guys can't figure this stuff out. Everybody's business fails. Again, the difference is that majority of the other cultures, they have ancestral honor. So even if their business fails, somebody's gonna pop up with something else and they're gonna try again. Whereas our people, the business failed and they're going to blame the white man, blame the devil, blame their granddad who didn't give them the 50 grand because he died and then he gave everything to the church, blame this over there, blame that over there, instead of looking at themselves and blaming themselves. The reason why stuff failed because you didn't do anything with it. The reason why stuff failed that you didn't even attempt to start the business. You didn't even have an idea to put into the ethers or even to try to manifest. Just figure everything should be handed to you because you're the gods of the planet, and if somebody owes you something. Nobody owes us jack. Nobody owes us anything. We owe ourselves at this point. That's why they say when you get your check, pay yourself first. Because these people are going to take all your stuff. Because it's a patriarchal system. So you better look out for yourself. You better look out for your nation. When you look at what's his face in the Punjabi in the party there, and we still don't have somebody in parliament yet. We still don't got MPs yet. You go look around in parliament, look at all the MPs or whatever, and see all the different nations who have representative in there, and then where's ours at? Where's our people's representation at? And we've been here longer than all these people. And we still have nothing? Not even a face? These people trust the Punjabi more to make him the head of a party than our people who've been here before them. Sacrifice way more than these people sacrifice. Which again goes back to why it is Noble Drew Ali said, set up our own stuff. Not even to be involved with their stuff. Give the Christianity and all that stuff, give that stuff back to Rome. You want European Grand Sheiks, I can give them to you, but I would suggest that you have your own. It is a sad weakness in us as a people that we have withheld the very encouragement, support, and patronage that would have made some of our worthy business ventures a grand success. And worst of all, have joined in the condemnations of them when they failed. So not only are we dealing with the idea that the thing can fail due to the lack of support or whatever like that from our own, but when it fails, they're still gonna ridicule and condemn you. When it fails, knowing that they're the reason why your stuff failed. When some white man did something, it was our own, not put into their own. You talk to unless they're Chinese, Jamaican, or whatever, they ain't going to no West Indian store to go eat any food. They're going to their own spot. Greeks only eat Greek salad. They're not eating anybody else's salad but their own salad. Why are they only eating their own stuff? They're racist? No, they have ancestral honor. Why the Asians only eat rice? Because they just only want to eat that? No, that's what their ancestors ate. They have ancestral honor. That's just what it is.
If they want noodles, I'll make rice noodles.
Right?
Or if they get the germ wheat one.
Why are they gonna go germ wheat and all that stuff? Right? One of the big ones is the Jews with the blood bank. That the Jews have their own blood bank. They're not going to Red Cross and all that stuff when they want blood. They're going to the Jewish blood bank to go get transfusion. Why are they doing that? And then how come nobody's saying they're racist? What do you mean you don't want anybody else's blood in you? You can't do that. Oh yeah, we can. Oh yeah, we most definitely we can. And then that's how you know that they're dealing with bloodline. They're not playing around with assumptions and whatever like that. Only people who are in our bloodline we're going to transfuse blood with. Regardless what type of blood they got. Once their national position is the same as ours, no problem. You could use the blood bank, and they're not giving that blood out to anybody else either. Don't think anybody who's not them could say, "Oh yeah, could I get some?" No, you're not getting any. Right? Except in cases of actual dishonesty, discourtesy, lack of service, and actual unreliability, our business enterprises in every field of endeavor should have lulled of confidence, cooperation, and patronage whenever and wherever they can be given. Right. In conclusion, I urge you to remember there is work enough for all to do in helping to build a better world. There's work enough for all to do. There's so much work to do that nobody shouldn't be talking about they don't got something to do. There's so much work to do.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
There's so much work to do. There shouldn't be people in our chat talking crazy about, well, what the Mars doing and what are you doing? What is it that the people who are condemning, ridiculing, whatever Mars, what are they doing? And guarantee you, if we pull up on them, you find that they ain't doing jack, sitting home on their computer or whatever, not doing anything for the Moors, for humanity, for no one, serving absolutely no purpose. The problems of life are largely social and economic. So, which is why Drew Ali gave us the economic plan. If you're a Moor, go start some type of business or something like that, so we can be successful in something. Because some stuff's gonna fail, but everything can't fail. One thing must kick off for the Moors. But if nobody's doing anything, then there's no chance for anything to kick off. But if 20 people say they start a business, at least we have a 75% chance that something could be beneficial. Something could happen, right? And the problems of life are largely social, which is why he gave you Quran and he gave you social duties. And he told you what your duties are as Moors. What are you supposed to be doing with this information? What are you supposed to be, who are you supposed to be inspiring? What steps you're supposed to take in order so that people, when they see Moors, they see a nation of people. They don't see some Negroes trying to claim houses and do all types of madness that they shouldn't be doing. That has nothing to do with assisting the nation. But anything to do with assisting their self, they're going to do that, right? Again, have lofty conceptions of your duties to your country and fellow man in general, and especially those with whom you deal. This includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in the other fellow's place. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Brighten the hopes of our youth in order that their courage be increased to dare and do wondrous things. Adhere at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Right. So again, this is the second audio. And again, this is with the same individual, Spencer Dew, being interviewed with regards to what are the Moors and what are the Moors.
he made the comparison. He said, you'll be like the Italian Americans, the Swedish Americans. He talks about other hyphenated Americans and refers to his group as Moorish Americans, and then tells them that citizenship is salvation and they have a sacred duty to vote. He claimed to be a prophet. And he taught a basic message that begins with an alternative ethnic or racial claim. He says to his community, who were African Americans, many of them migrants from the South, he said, you are not, quote, Negro, Black, or colored. These terms are legal fictions, he said nicknames, but these are oppressive categories that deny you full American citizenship. The second move then is to say what you are instead is Moorish, and if you recognize your true ancestry and heritage and nationality as Moorish, and hold up the Moorish flag alongside the United States flag, the flag of Morocco alongside the stars and stripes, then you will be recognized as a full citizen of the United States.
And it's not recognized as a full citizen of the United States. We can't be that. We can't be citizens of the United States. We can't be citizens of fictitious entities. Right? We are our own citizens. We are citizens of our own nation. Right? We're not citizens of something that's not our own. Not because we don't want to be, because we can't be that. Right?
Yeah, if you're off something, you're not in.
Right.
You're just off. You gotta be
Really,
exactly.
He was using a kind of immigrant ethnic paradigm. I mean, he made the comparison. He said, you'll be like the Italian Americans, the Swedish Americans. He talks about other hyphenated Americans and refers to his group as Moorish Americans, and then tells them that citizenship is salvation and they have a sacred duty to vote in elections, et cetera, et cetera.
And then there was proof of that with Oscar the Priest in Chicago getting in office because of Moors voting. But keep in mind, in the 1920s, they're talking about republic. This is before the whole fall of everything. This is before New Deal. This is before stock market crash. This is when everybody knew that all the different nations on the American continent were the United States of America. United States of America wasn't just above Mexico and below Canada. United States of America was the whole continent. By the time you get to 1930s, United States is now just this little portion. And then everybody's running with that. And then they start saying they're American or whatever like that. And then not talk about Brazilians and Chileans and whoever else is American too. Right?
This sounds somewhat familiar to me, I would say, and tell me if I'm wrong, because it seems that, at least in the early part of the 20th century, there were a number of African-American kind of separatist, nationalist groups that talked about returning to Africa, or some that had religious aspects to them. Is that right?
Sure. So what I think makes Moorish science unusual is, for much of the movement, instead of something like rejecting American citizenship, returning to Africa, starting their own territory, the emphasis is on being, quote, good citizens, right? Being American citizens. And it's still today, I mean, certainly the most public-facing Moorish Science Temple of America groups are involved in local politics, are marching around with American flags, are really proclaiming that American identity.
You know, keep in mind, these examples of collective effort show that the members of the Moorish Science Temple and their leaders have a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity may travel unhampered and unafraid. It must be kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years so as to be error-proof, said President Ali. So if he's saying President Ali, then what are we citizens of? Wouldn't we be citizens of our own stuff? If Noble Drew Ali is our president, if Justin Trudeau is the president of something called a country, and they have people that belong to that, then he's talking to those people when he made reference to him. If Biden's president of something, and then he makes some reference point to the citizens of the whatever, he's talking about only those people that recognize him as president. He's not talking about everybody in the world that recognize him as president, because he doesn't have jurisdiction over those people. He only has jurisdiction over the people who recognize him as president. So if Noble Drew Ali is saying President Ali, and people are addressing him as President Ali, and he's talking about citizenship and all that stuff, and sacred obligations of American citizenship, and he's hyphenating Moorish with American, then obviously he's talking to his own citizenry. He's not talking to anybody out there who is a citizen. If he's addressing them as president, he's talking to the ones who are directly connected to him and the government, the nation, the political body that was set up by him for the people who are part of that. So when they make the statement of the Moorish rejecting American, there's no such thing as American citizenship in that context. This is being told by individuals who are foreigners here, and they have to talk a certain way so that they can claim and assume certain jurisdiction where it doesn't lie with them to assume certain jurisdiction. They shouldn't be the ones having these conversations. They should be talking to Moors about this. They shouldn't be pulling some scholar, whoever, and asking, oh yeah, so who are the Moorish Americans or whatever? Why don't you act? They ain't pulling them and asking about the Chinese. They ain't pulling the scholar guy to ask them about the Arabs. So tell us about the Arabs and tell us about only with Moors they do this. Because they know if Moors start talking, you're either going to get the religiousized ones who already sold out, so they're going to talk the same way that these people are talking, or you're going to get people like Rise of the Moors and them who they're talking a complete different thing. That you people don't have laws. You people don't have jurisdiction. I don't care what your state is called, because we're not part of your political body. We have our own jurisdiction. But again, because of the infiltration, because of individuals taking the religious side of it, because of individuals taking the passive sides of it, the standard now has been that there's these different aspects of the Moorish, whatever. When there ain't no different aspects of the Moor. If you're Moor, then you're supposed to be about enforcing the Constitution. You're supposed to be about uplifting fallen humanity. You're supposed to be about acknowledging and recognizing Noble Drew Ali as the prophet and recognizing that we're a nation. We're not organizations. We're not temples. Temple doesn't make you a Moor and all that stuff. Some guy out there with a paper doesn't make you a Moor. You're a Moor by birth, by right. You're a Moor by nationality. You're not a Moor because you joined something, right?
Now, what we get with a group like Rise of the Moors is there's also a school of thought within, again, the very diverse Moorish Science Temple of America movement that says we as Moors are in fact not American citizens and can't be American citizens. So the folks in Massachusetts, they said, we're, quote, foreign nationals. If you saw the video, they're holding up the flag of Morocco in the middle of the highway, and they're saying, this is our flag, this is our nationality. We have a treaty with the United States. They're referring to the 1777 Moroccan-American Treaty of Friendship. And they're saying that while they are abiding by the laws, the federal laws of the United States, they are themselves not citizens of the United States.
Right? Because our duty is to enforce the Constitution, enforce it. So the enforcement of it doesn't mean that we're part of it. Because the enforcement of it is for the people who are occupying the land, who duly knew they were about to crash. They were going to start making all these fake laws and stuff like that to have people think that Constitution isn't the law. Have people thinking that everything else is a law except the Constitution. So by enforcing the Constitution, by training Moors early to enforce the Constitution, that was directly prophecy of him knowing what was coming. That if Moors kept enforcing the Constitution, we wouldn't be in these situations that we're in now, where you have, for example, state of Massachusetts saying, well, our laws say that you gotta do this and you gotta do that. Well, how? You're a state. States don't have laws. The state's laws is the laws of the land, which is the Constitution that everybody's supposed to be going by. And the state law is only for your little citizens of your state. State law is not for everybody. State law is for only people who are in that state that say, I'm with this state right here. I live here. I reside here. I am whatever like that. So state law applies to them. Anybody else, state law doesn't apply. Right?
I also find it interesting that as opposed to.
Just like when you say President of America, it's only for the President of the United States of America,
right?
Not the continent.
Right. Exactly.
I was saying I find it interesting that if I want to figure out how to fix something, let's say a car, I'm not going to go to somebody who studied how to do that. I want to go to somebody who does that all the time, who's got hands-on experience, who's now applied theory and knowledge.
Right.
Right. So I'm saying all that to say that they could have found more and had them come and interview them about the very same thing.
But see, the thing with that is that they did do that because the Moors were speaking for themselves. That we're not part of you guys' jurisdiction. We have our own flag out here. We're not traveling through state of whatever. We're in our own land. State's a corporation. Nobody could drive through the state of somewhere. It's a corporation. No one could drive through Walmart unless they have a drive-through. There's no drive-through, you can't drive through Walmart. You're not gonna drive through Walmart and stop at the electronics department. There's a city of electronics department. There's a city of electronics department, and there's a mayor there, and that's the cashier and all that stuff. That's a fiction. That's not real. So them saying that we're in our own land and them having a flag that is representative of a nation would mean that they're diverse to that state that is making whatever claim that they're making. And because they're diverse, the state should be saying, oh, sorry, we can't even touch these people. We can't have any conversations with them. These people don't even exist to us. Which is, again, going back to the thing of, the narrative being shut down. So they shut down their YouTube and shut down their Facebook when they were going live and shut down their IG when they were going live or whatever, because they already had their narrative that they wanted to put on the public. That these people are renegade and anti-government, when they're in the Instagram live saying we're not anti-government. While they're talking to the highwaymen who have them on the highway. Oh yeah, we're not anti-government. Don't you guys have oaths to the Constitution and stuff like that? You're supposed to follow the Constitution and whatever. They weren't hearing any of that because they had their narrative that they were spinning. And their narrative that they were spinning was that these people are some anti-government sovereign citizen, whoever's. Well, we're not sovereign citizen though. What do you mean we're sovereign citizen? How you come up with that idea that we're sovereign citizen? Where is that coming from? That's coming from the claim house people who they labeled as sovereign citizen, and then those people who claim houses and whatever like that, they didn't say anything against that. They just let it go. So that became precedent. Then people who, you know what I mean, that they see is the representative of the Moorish whatever, then they go to them. And then these people with turbans and feathers on say, oh yeah, those guys are sovereign citizens for sure. They have nothing to do with Moorish Science Temple and all that stuff. Those people are so far from the teachings of Noble Drew Ali and all this stuff. But these people who are talking crazy, they're not talking about the treasury money that they stole. They're not talking about all these businesses that they made fold because they stopped being who their ancient foremothers and forefathers were and started playing these corporate games. Started getting 501c3s and all that stuff to get handouts from the so-called corporation posing as government, which would mean that's treason. Because why are you taking finance from them? They murdered your ancestors. Why are you taking finance from them to have a building called Moorish Science Temple when these same people murdered your ancestors? And then the ones who are standing up for the right, which is based on them being Aboriginal and Indigenous. And because they're Aboriginal and Indigenous people, then their rights are superior to anything that the state, federal, province, whatever has to say. Because like they said in the other thing, these individuals calling themselves Moors, this is pre-Europeans being in the Americas. This is pre that. So if Moors been here before Europeans, then that means that these Europeans shouldn't even be having conversations with Moors. They should see Moors and say, oh, the Moors? Oh, yeah. No.
High and by.
High and by.
That's it.
Right?
So within the same movement, you get these two, I don't know, alternate poles, right? Of striving to be citizens and denying that possibility of citizenship.
Well, and I think you've got right to exactly the problem that we journalists have been having in terms of not knowing how to describe this group. I mean, they've been described as, here on GBH, we're using the term a Black sovereign citizen group. But is their ideology just kind of their own thing?
And so they're going to identify it as Black sovereign group. But then they're going to say, yeah, Noble Drew Ali told you that we're not Black and all that stuff. So, okay, so if you know that Noble Drew Ali said that they're not Black, then why are you going to say that they're a Black sovereign group? Unless this is part of the yellow journalism, this is part of the campaign to set up the narrative, to make people be confused, so that when they hear Moors, they're thinking, oh, sovereign citizen, whatever like that. They're not even relating it to Noble Drew Ali's lessons and the fact that he said that we're not Black. Like I had a post on IG earlier that Farrakhan coming out, you know that there were Black communities and all that stuff after slavery, and the Black people set up their own stuff, and the Black this and that, whatever like that. But then there's Nation of Islam teaching people that, well, you know, Black comes from necro, and necro is Negro, and that means death and whatever like that. We're not Black people. So why are they talking? Why are they saying Black people? Oh, well, to meet our people where they're at, because our people don't know who they're. Well, the only reason people don't know who they are because these sellouts never told them. The only reason the people don't know who they are because Noble Drew Ali is not mentioned. They talk about everybody else in Black History Month, but not mention the guy who said that we're not Black during Black History Month, because that'll be a contradiction to their narrative. That we're Black people, and we're Africans, and we're Negroes, and we're all these, and we're citizens of the United States, and because, you know, it's slavery, and when all that stuff is a lie. And the duty of Moors is to make sure that they're producing some type of literature, that they're in the public, that they're making sure that when they take the stuff to the hedges and the highways, people are seeing them as who they are. It's not going to be assuming. You see a Moor and you're assuming, I wonder if is that a renegade Moor or a sovereign Moor, or which kind of Moor is that? There's not even no question. As soon as you see, you already know. Oh, those are the indigenous people of the land. Is where it's supposed to be at when they engage. Oh, those are the indigenous people of the land. And if those people are the indigenous people, and I just came here yesterday, then they're not the foreign nationals. I am. I'm the foreigner because I'm in an indigenous land. Not, well, the Moors said that they're foreign because the United States is a corporation and they're foreign to that. We're not foreign to that. We can't be foreign if we're in our own land. You can't be foreign anything if you're in your own land.
Foreign to us, not we foreign.
How are you foreign if we're in your own land? Right? But because if you look at it like bad breath is foreign to the mouth, right? Earwax is foreign to the ears, right? But we can't be foreign. We can't be foreign in our own land. If we're in our own land, there's no way that we're foreign. Anything. There's no way that we're foreign. What's foreign is what came here after us.
So Martin Luther King said, "You're a slave in your own land."
Mm-hmm.
Most people, February, they don't emphasize on that part of it. They still saying you're a slave from Africa. You come over here. But he said you're a slave in your own land, which is here.
And which would also mean that you're not a slave if you're in your own
There
land.
you go. There you go.
If you're in your own land, then you're not a slave.
You're not a slave.
You're a prisoner.
Yeah.
Right. If you're in your own land, you're not a slave because slaves come from somewhere else.
I think the trick here is that this is a movement that I've seen headlines that say these extremists don't believe that American laws apply to them. I think the trick is they do in fact acknowledge American laws and acknowledge the authority of those laws. They are insistent that they are not breaking the law, and they're gonna continue to argue that in every court appearance that follows. I mean, to me, the most telling event of what they call a peaceful discussion, what the police and most journalists call a standoff, the most telling event was when the spokesperson, Jamal Bey, hands out copies of a court case to the police, cites the Second Amendment of the Constitution, cites various laws, and then says to the police, please give me a summons, take me before a judge, and let the judge decide if my legal interpretations are correct.
Right?
Because they don't know nothing on this.
Because they don't know jack.
They don't know nothing. Okay, take me to the judge.
They don't know jack.
They don't. Nothing.
Right? Don't play games or whatever like that if you don't know what's up. No, it's okay. You know what I mean? Give me my summons, just like you do anybody else that you stop on the street. Give me my summons. I'll go about my business. There's a date on here. I'll see you on the date. They didn't do that. They kidnapped them. And then when they go to court, they're talking about, well, they got to have dangerous hearing. And they got to have, nobody been charged yet. No charges have been laid yet. There's been nothing called charges. Somebody charged with something. All there's been is detainment of these individuals. On top of that, individuals out of the 11 have already been released. And they're supposed to be on the same charges as them. So how come they're holding these 6 people and then all these other people got to go and then these ones are still locked up still? If all of them were in the same street at the same time, why are they holding some and then keeping them? Now you realize that they're building up, their case to say, oh yeah, well, that guy's the ringleader of the whatever, and start talking about, some cult army thing, the anti-government thing, and they're gonna take over the government and all this stuff. Which all is a lie. Because if the highwayman, just like he said, right? Just like he said, the most telling event of what they call a peaceful discussion, what the police and most journalists call a standoff. Right? So he's showing you that there's two sides to this story right here. There's a side that the Moors are telling, where based on the video and the TV stuff and all that stuff, it was peaceful. There was no shootout. There was no, get on the ground and all that stuff. There was no, tear gas, and there was none of that. But they call it a standoff, though. When it's a standoff, usually that there's hostages and stuff like that. There's somebody hiding behind something saying, oh yeah, we're not coming out or whatever, if it's a standoff. There was none of that going on. So the narrative, this is what Spencer Dew is saying, right? Professor at the university or whatever like that. He's saying the people who were involved with it were telling one story, and the police and the journalists were calling it something else, which is not what it was. And the most telling event was when the spokesperson, Jamal Bey, who the whole time in the news or whatever like that, they're calling him straw man name and all that stuff. How come he knows that he's Jamal Bey? How come he didn't say Jamal Bey, AKA the name on the birth certificate and the name on the license? How come he didn't talk like that? How come he just called him Jamal Bey? Right? Hands out copies of a court case to police. So letting them know, just what you know what's up, right? Cites the Second Amendment of the Constitution, cites various laws, and then says to the police, please give me a summons. Take me before the judge and let the judge decide if my legal interpretations are correct. How come they had 5 judges so far? How come there's all these different judges on the case? How come they're changing judges every time they go to court? It's a different judge. Why don't they just stick to one judge? I mean, there's one guy's going to court, so how come they got all these different judges for these one group of Moors? Unless somebody's trying to play a narrative. Unless somebody's trying to tell a story so it could look a certain way. Has nothing to do with law, has nothing to do with rights, has nothing to do with nationality, has nothing to do with any of that.
And their brain is dead, they will never come up with one.
Right? People are criminals.
That's the real issue here. Right? That this movement says they haven't done anything illegal. They're barraging their social media platforms with the claim that they were always abiding by the law and that they've now been arrested illegally. And so what we're really going to have in the courts is an argument of 2 different claims about what the law is.
When there shouldn't be 2 different claims as what the law is, because the law is what it is. There's no interpretation of what this is. It is what it is. People have a right, and that right can't be infringed. As soon as somebody infringes that right, look at the people infringing as criminal. Stop calling them government, stop calling them police, stop calling them whatever it is you're calling them, thinking that they got some type of authority. They're criminals. They're an occupying force in land that's not theirs. And they're taking advantage of the fact that they know that the people are dumb. They know that the people are dumb. And that anything that the news says, go line up over there and get your injection and stuff like that. People are going to do it without question. Just because news said, police said, the whoever head of the whatever said that there's stuff out there and people are dying and all that stuff. There's all these different versions of this thing, but all the symptoms are the same. What's going on? Oh yeah, the people are dumb. Once people are dumb, they're going to take advantage of them without the people knowing that they're getting taken advantage of because they're dumb. And then they're going to look at these Moors kidnapped and they're going to talk about, see what happens when you have guns and when you want, well, Europeans have guns all the time out here. I don't see you talking nothing about them. We got European militias running in the Senate, hanging off the balcony.
Sister told me I'm walking into Georgia, the Walmart.
Yeah.
I look like crackhead with gun on his side and another one down there.
Yeah.
Georgia, European.
Mm-hmm.
You look like crackhead.
Crackhead looking people have gun, no problem.
His gun and his rights to his gun. Mm-hmm.
Well, in terms of how this boils down for, legal realities, does this mean that, the group says this about their ideology, that they're not really a threat? It is a group that has guns, though. Is how, based on your understanding, how much should the general public be concerned about the danger they might pose?
I can't speak to the issue of danger.
I can't speak to the issue of danger.
There was no danger.
Because there was none. What do you mean they had guns? So police have guns and they do more stuff with guns than these guys did. And nobody says anything to police. They say nothing to police. But these Moors have guns on the highway and now they're a threat and they're the danger and all that. If they're so dangerous, why didn't they just murder them out there on the street? If it's like that, if they were dangerous like that, they should have had the sniper out there just ping them off one by one. If they was dangerous like that, that's what they would have done in any other dangerous situation. Obviously, the situation wasn't that dangerous.
No.
He can't even speak on the issue of danger. Not because he can't, but because there's nothing dangerous going on. What's the problem? What's the issue? Why are you looking at these Moors like they're doing something wrong? Because they had guns and, because you think that these guys are Negroes and you already know Negroes with guns is the threat because they're going to come kill slave master and all that stuff because it goes with the narrative. Right? It goes with their Christian black codes. And black guys couldn't have guns. Well, they're not black. So why is that even coming up? Right.
I will say this: it seems a pretty open and shut case regarding. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but it seems a pretty open and shut case regarding the firearms violations. Right? They are in violation of Massachusetts law.
Massachusetts doesn't have law. Massachusetts is a corporation. Corporations have policies, and whatever Walmart says is the rules of Walmart, if you're not an employee, that doesn't apply to you. You don't have to, you go into Walmart and have your headphones in your ear, listen to music, singing. Employees can't do that. Oh, so the Walmart guy comes up to you, excuse me, you can't have your headphones in. You can't sing in here. You're gonna look at them funny. What do you mean I can't? What do you mean? I'm not a Walmart employee. What does that have to do with me? Same thing with this. They have nothing to do with Massachusetts. Zero. But because of the passivity of our people, because of our people recognizing these quote unquote corporations as states and government or whatever, they're assuming the jurisdiction that you give them. And again, saying that you're not following the laws of a state or whatever doesn't make you anti-government or whatever. It lets you know where you stand relative to them. Right? Us saying that, Highway Traffic Act doesn't apply to me. Not because I'm not going to follow the stuff on the street and be going over the yellow line on the other side and all that stuff. That's not what's going to be going on. We're still going to be stopping at stop signs and all that stuff. Still going to be stopping at the green, stopping at the red, go to the green and whatever. We're still going to be doing that. But when it comes to you saying that, well, you know, you can't because this act says this. No, you can't do that because that act is after my existence. Act has nothing to do with me. The act has to do with your corporate jurisdiction, which I'm not part of your corporate jurisdiction because I'm a Moor. I'm a free Moor. The only way that I'm part of that is if you're assuming jurisdiction. You're assuming that I'm not a Moor because I look like a black guy. So since I look like a black guy, then whatever you say has to apply to me. No, it doesn't. Especially if I'm stating it on paper, in documentation, some type of identification, and it says on it that I'm not part of your thing, then you're not supposed to look at me as part of your thing. That's just what it is. There's no state laws. There's no provincial laws. There's the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. And the people who take an oath to that is who that applies to. It doesn't apply to everybody. So the point of them saying, well, we're standing on our constitutional right. We're standing on Aboriginal rights. We're standing on a right that exists because of this Constitution. You can't say what we could do or what we can't do unless it's in line with that.
The Constitution is for them, and it's to protect me,
Right.
us.
Protect the people from being taken advantage of by people who want to violate constitutions. That's what Constitution is there for. So these individuals, knowing that people are going to try to violate them, stood on the Constitution. And them standing on the Constitution was supposed to let the violator say, oh, they're standing on the Constitution, leave them people alone.
From day one, why they make it stretch like this? From day one, they should have done that.
I think what to me is interesting about what's going to happen is that every courtroom appearance is going to be really a religious event for this group, right? It's going to be an opportunity for them to publicize their own particular interpretation of American law and of their status within America.
Right? So it's not interpretation of American law. It's what's written in the Constitution that all these people take an oath to. It's not interpretation. It's not some religious thing. The religious right to face your accuser of something. No, that's law. That's due process.
And it come in the English language too. It didn't come in another
Yeah.
language. So
there has to be somebody injured if you're saying there's a crime. If there's nobody injured, there's no crime. Period. Somebody has to be injured. No shots fired, nobody gun butted, no nothing, then there was nobody injured. In the Matrix, they're gonna say the corporation got injured. In the Matrix, they're gonna say the Queen got injured. In the Matrix, they're gonna say some fictitious entity got injured, and that fictitious entity is bringing you to court. That's why you're here. Well, where are they at? Well, they're not here. You got a representative over there called prosecutor who's going to be in place of the Queen, who can't be here.
Crown and the prosecutor.
A crown got injured. And the crown called the prosecutor, and the prosecutor's here because the crown can't be here. Well, was the crown foot broken or something like that? How come the crown's not here? Oh, the crown is home, chilling. And the representative is who you have to deal with. That's not de jure. That's de facto. That's fraudulent. Right? When they say, or when they said, oh, we're gonna have a dangerous hearing because they're dangerous. And then Moors were bringing up, well, what do you mean? What do you mean dangerous? Like, what means dangerous? Oh, he had guns out there. The police had guns out there too. But how come they're not? How come they don't have a dangerous hearing?
You probably bought it from them.
Right? How come they're not going through a dangerous hearing? They had guns out there. Right?
Well, one other question I just ask you before we let you go, that, when we tend to think of groups in America, sovereign citizen groups who are fond of gun rights, we tend to think of, well, white groups, quite frankly. And I'm just wondering, is that wrong-headed? Are we wrong to be thinking about this and should thinking about it in that way?
I've studied a lot of contemporary Moorish science groups. This is the only group I can think of offhand that has the attitude about firearms that they have and wants to make the public appearance with firearms and make the kind of really religious claims about firearms that they do. I think they are very much in the minority within this movement. I think most militia groups are white. I think that's the both the caricature and the truth. I mean, it's interesting to me that the Rise of the Moors group has immediately after the arrest argued really vehemently that there's a kind of racial double standard here, and has shown all of these pictures on their social media of white militia groups, outside the State House in Michigan, storming the Capitol in DC, and comparing their quote unquote peaceful, and I guess it was peaceful, their appearance on the highway with these more threatening appearances by white militias.
Certainly.
Right? So, guy on the side, just sitting on the sidelines or whatever, they asked him, well, was guy out of bounds? Well, he wasn't out of bounds, it was fair play. But, he's outsider. So they're not hearing what he's saying. That's opinionated. But the fact of the matter is that, one, Moors have arms. It's not something limited to these Moors on the highway. When we went to North Carolina, Moors had arms at the lecture. Moors had arms there. We went to Virginia, Moors had arms there. It wasn't something where, they aren't carrying it or whatever. They had it on them. People were strapped at the thing. Mm-hmm. Not because of somebody's going to do something, somebody's not going to do something, but they got a right to bear arms. Big deal. It's a right. It's not their opinion why they're doing it. It's a right. Right? It's interesting to me that the Rise of the Moors group has immediately after the arrest argued really vehemently that there's a kind of racial double standard. Because how are we violent ones, but the European ones who ran into state houses and stuff like that with arms, no one called them violent and dangerous or whatever. They were able to run in there and run out. And then they went and caught people later or whatever. They didn't shut down the place and kidnap everybody who was in there like they did with these Moors who were on the highway, which is outside in the open. And there's right? No sense whatsoever. Right? But this is where it's at. right? This is where it's at. And it's at this place due to this idea that the factions thing. There's Moors over here, there's Moors over here. There's Moors who are active and they're gonna defend their right, stand on their right, exercise their right. And then there's Moors who are passive and religious. And they're not gonna stand for the right. They're not gonna defend the right. And if they talk about rights, they're gonna talk about it came from some government, corporation, whatever, gave it to them, so they have that right, and they're citizens because they're part and partial of the government and whatever. Yeah. When the ones who are doing the passive religious stuff, those aren't the ones. The ones who are standing on the right are the ones. That's the standard. And when people start looking at the right Moors as the standard, then things are gonna start moving differently. But they also know that majority of the passive religious people are the infiltrators. So if they want a reference point for Moors, obviously they're going to go to the people who are the traitors. They're going to go to the people who are going to side with the government, side with the idea that those ones over there are renegades, and when that's not what it is. And again, like we're saying, Moors are supposed to be industrious. More supposed to be industrious, supposed to have businesses and stuff like that. All the other stuff that's happening, that's secondary. The primary thing with Moors is a beggar nation can't attain the highest spirituality. And in order to not be a beggar, you need to be doing for yourself. Just like every other nation is doing for themselves. And once we start doing for ourselves, then we're setting the example of what this is. Just like the Moors in the day set the example that, you know, we're coming to the convention and we're going to tell you that, yeah, we got laundromat by Moors. We got businesses by Moors. We got moving company. We got different health products. We have so many different things, right, that allow people to see who the Moors are without it having to be some type of interaction with the colonists. And then basing what Moors are based on how that goes. Oh, they got off the charges, so then so we're all going to be Moors. Oh, they didn't get off the charges. Well, I don't know about that. That Moor stuff doesn't work because those Moors never got off the charges. Absolute wrong perspective of how they're looking at this. You know? But again, the point is that the status quo is that Moors are supposed to be active, and the best way to be active is to set up something that is going to bring economic power and allow people to see that this is not just some religious ideology some people are following. These are people who are getting back in tune with their nation because they fell out of it. They've been removed from it. They've abandoned it. Whatever it is, why they're not part of a nation, they're getting themselves back into that place of nationhood again. And it's only going to happen when Moors take the place of being that, not waiting for something else or somebody else to do it for them. Right? Any comments, questions before we close out? Peace and love to the Moors. We'll just get closed out. We'll be here again next week. We have what's going on. Yeah, as of right now, everything's good. The next thing probably is gonna be probably spring equinox, something for the equinox, and I believe that's Montreal for the sunset, the equinox sunset. We've done the sunrise, so we're gonna do the sunset.
These up yet?
Yeah, no, not yet. Probably saw somewhere around there. Somewhere around there. That's about it. Close out. Make it home before the storm drops. About to get it. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
Father of love, truth,
Truth,
peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night
By night
and by day,
and by day,
through a holy prophet,
through a holy prophet,
noble Juali,
noble Juali,
Islam,
Islam.
Ashe. Islam. Peace, Mars.